You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. Some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Echo, Carl's Path. So, the last place we left off, yeah, we were still in Carl's basement. Yeah, Chase had heard some weird little noises coming from there, and he thought someone had broken in. It turned out it was just Carl talking to something in the dark. Yeah, nothing odd about that. But anyway, guys, let's jump right back into it. Please sit back and enjoy. Let me entertain you for the next 20 minutes, and let's go. All right, alarm chain, you're up. Okay. I slowly get to my feet, still breathing heavily. What is that stuff? What were you doing in there? Just dust. It's dirty down here. Again, I feel like he's leaving stuff out. I try to look past him into the crawl space, but he closes the door. Excuse me. Come on! I need to smoke after that! I stand back to let him pass, tempted to open the door again. He grabs my arm when he sees me looking through. When he sees me looking, though. Seriously, dude, let's go! I don't really want to be down in this house right now. Please! I look at him and I can tell he's definitely freaked out. I would be too if I woke up in that crawl space. Yeah, let's go. Slowly I follow him, looking back at the door before flicking off the light. What were you talking to, Carl? One of the mind demons, perhaps? Or the weasel demons? Whatever the fuck they are. They're weird and they're long and creepy. Are you sure you don't want to come down? Carl lays spread out on his bed, game controller clutched in both of the paws that are thrown over his head against the pillow. He offers me a glance, but returns back to his game. This time it's a new-looking open-world fantasy, and honestly, I'd much rather be watching him play it than doing homework. Just don't want to distract you, man. And you know how much help I am. I frown. Well, it'd be more for the company than anything. Don't you want to look through this stuff too? Carl screws up his muzzle as if contemplating. I've seen most of it, dude. I wrapped up half the stuff in there. Well, alright. I pause, but he doesn't say anything. It's clear he's not interested, so I have no reason to nag him. Still, it sort of hurts my feelings. As I make my way into the basement alone, I realize another reason why I would have appreciated Carl's company. The house is as creepy as fuck. I've always been a bit of a pussy when it comes to scary things. I mean, once after I'd seen a scary movie about possession, I'd been afraid to go to sleep for weeks, mainly because my nightmares can seem so real. It took almost a month for me to manage it without the lights on, and I was 18 at the time. And now I mentally kick myself for remembering that movie while I'm down in Carl's creepy basement, alone. Yep. Once I get to the crawl space, I do an awkward half-run into the flood lamp, and that probably would have made Carl laugh his ass off. The crawl space really is fucking creepy. I imagine Carl sleepwalking down here, which I'm pretty sure is what happened last night, then waking up alone in the dark. I can understand why he was so freaked out. The sight of the plastic tarp at the bottom of the steps brings back memories of the tarantula as well. Shit. Now I have a good reason not to go down there at all. I still don't know if what I saw was real or was some kind of hypnagogic, how do you guys pronounce it? Hypnagogic, that's what I'm going to say. Hypnagogic hallucination that my mind always seems so keen to throw at me. I scan the tarp. It's white and clean surface, free of any insects as far as I can tell. I shudder again before making my way slowly to the steps, eyes still darting around. Come on, you idiot, this is ridiculous. When I was younger, I used to have a problem where I'd wake up in the middle of the night and see spiders crawling up my walls. I'd scream, and one of my parents would come running in to tell me nothing was there. My dad talked to his psychologist friend who told him it was normal, so we didn't do anything about it. Over time, the hallucinations stopped. They didn't come back until I took the night shift near my university's campus. After that, I started to get sleep paralysis, and about half the time, spiders are involved. My feet crunch their way across the tarp, back toward the tubs that I know are marked history. I stare at them for a second, remembering that 2 days ago the tubs had been turned to have their sides facing the entrance to the crawl space. I clearly remember seeing them that way over Carl's shoulder, right before I saw the tarantula. Now they're turned so that their ends are pointing to the front. I frown, but the prickling feeling on my neck doesn't feel so good, especially with me being alone down here. So I shove that to the back of my mind and grab the end of the bottom tub so I can start dragging it back towards the stairs. Sitting down and taking the lids off, I start sifting through the contents. Again, something isn't right. There are a few empty wrappers lying around among the artifacts, as if someone had unwrapped a few trinkets before taking them. I wonder if Carl decided to take a few things. God knows why he would. I remove those wrappers, 3 in all, and set them to the side before digging further in. This particular tub has a divider in it. Let me see. There we go, okay. As I start unwrapping things, I realize that one side is for the harder artifacts, like keys or knitting needles. The other has mostly paper items, like photos and documents. On the paper side, I see a thick black folder labeled Biography of James Hendricks. My eyes widen. Now that would come in handy. Is this a book, or as I open it to find a bunch of I find a bunch of loose papers inside. While it's clearly copy paper, it's old enough in its own right. I move back down to the tarp so I can start spreading the documents out, not wanting to lose anything. I'm breathing heavily at this point, hardly believing my luck. There are hundreds of pages, and I hardly know where to start. After a while, I begin to deduce what this is. Someone's been trying to write a book on James Hendricks, and from what I can tell, it was Carl's mother, Tricia. Some of the documents were typed out on a typewriter, so this might have been started as far back as the 80s. Getting married, having kids, and running a company probably slowed things down just a little bit. I grin. While it's too bad that this might never see publication, Carl's mom has no idea how much she saved my ass. On top of that, she's got it all organized. One divider indicates James Hendricks, while another marks Emma Hendricks, who I assume is James's wife. A few of them are filled with several names: Marilyn Smith, John Begay, Yanaha Begay, Christopher Leeway. Finally, the last section of the binder is filled with divider indicating dates: 1825 to 1852, 1852 to 1875, 1875 to 1878, and 1878 to 1891. I start with that, my fingers shaking a bit with excitement as I start poring over Tricia's meticulous timeline, using my phone to take notes. James was born in 1825 to an immigrant family from Ayr. From Ayr? Ayr? Okay. His family faced oppressive prejudice from the day they arrived in the country. Despite this, they managed to make a living, with James' father becoming a plumber, a profession that mainly dealt with lead. His father, Martin, was abusive, even more so than was acceptable for the time, and James suffered greatly for it. The mysterious death of his 5-year-old sister, Martha, led many of the townspeople to suspect the murder on the father's part, but this was never proven. James left home at the age of 15. He told his remaining sibling, Jane, that if he were able, he'd find a place for them both to stay to escape their father. Not much is known about James Hendricks between 1840 and 1849, with Tricia assuming that he simply job-hopped around the tri-state area. What is known is that James set out west in 1850 during the gold rush. Luck struck quick with James finding gold in a quartz deposit in 1852. The first person James confided in about the find was his only friend, John Begay. John was a native Desert Fox and would go on to become James's business partner. This comes as a bit of a surprise due to John's many recorded instances of prejudice against the natives. With John's help, James officially laid claim to the mine before turning it into a business. While Echo was originally a small camp of less than 20 people, it became a mini boom town. Over 2,000 people arrived within the next 3 years. Things went well for James after that. He became rich, built a mansion in Echo, and lived off the mine's seemingly endless flow of gold. He sent Jane, who was married with a large family at that point, a yearly sum of money. Meanwhile, no money was sent to his parents, who were living in deep poverty. He married Emma, a girl half his age, in 1860. They had 5 children: James, Thomas, Genevieve, Carol, and Martha. Things changed for James in 1875, though, when he was accused of sodomy with John Begay. The land being lawless at the time, John Begay was hanged by the locals. Shit. James was never convicted of the crime, likely because of his strong influence in the town. However, the ostracism grew to be too much, and in 1878 he left his family to live in solitude on the west coast. Yeesh. People sure were, well, people still are fucking evil and hateful. He quietly started a moderately successful ice cream business in the 1880s. It didn't grow into the regional juggernaut it is today until it was taken over by his grandson, Peter. He died there in his villa in 1891 from an unusual insect bite. I rubbed my eyes and checked the time. 3 hours have passed already, and it's late in the afternoon. Apparently Carl's game is so good he hasn't even bothered to come down and check on me. I sigh and gather up a few of the items: a pocket watch, what looks like a nugget of gold, and what I think is a stamp with a crest on it. I'll need to take the pictures outside, considering how dim it is down here. I lay the items down on the adobe sidewalk that leads up to Carl's house. Deciding that will make a suitable background, I start taking pictures. Hours after the discovery of the binder, I'm still relieved. I was really starting to worry with how little time I had left, but Tricia's research had saved me hours of time. In fact, she'd pretty much laid everything out for me. I nearly jumped out of my skin and spun around, still clutching my camera. Behind me, I can see the window still rattling from the force of whatever had knocked on it. It's a basement window, and a window well, though I can't see anything through it. It's too dark. I stare for a while, frowning. What the fuck was Carl doing? Did he go back downstairs and somehow see me through the window and decide to scare me? I slowly gather the artifacts back up and place them in my bag, keeping an eye on the window as I do. If he wanted to pull that shit, then I could play that game too. It's probably not Carl doing that. The only problem is that Carl isn't in the basement. From what I can gather, it was the window next to the crawl space that was hit. Looking out, I can see the spot where I must have been standing. The chills return and I shiver as I move back to the crawl space. It had to have been Carl, though I don't get why he wouldn't have stayed down here until I came back. I gather everything back up and start to place them back in the tub in the same order I had taken them out. And that's when I noticed something. At the very bottom of the tub, a plastic baggie has been opened with its contents spilled out. I set down the binder, which I had been about to put away, and reach in, sifting through the spilled papers. There are newspaper clippings from the town of Peyton. They're incredibly old, and I can't imagine this is the best way to preserve them. Either way, the fashion in which they're carelessly spread out across the bottom of the tub makes me wince. I don't remember leaving it this way, and it makes me feel sick that I could have damaged any of it. Slowly, I push all the clippings back into the baggie, making sure to seal it tight after I do. From what I can see, nothing's been visibly damaged. I sigh before putting everything back in the tub and shutting it with the lid, making sure it's sealed tight. It's a shame that it's been so difficult for Carl's family to set up the museum. From the look of it, some of his stuff isn't going to last much longer without proper preservation. Finally, I drag the tubs back and subconsciously take note of exactly how I left them before heading back upstairs. When I get upstairs, though, Carl's asleep. His controller is still above his head, clutched in his paws, as if he'd fallen asleep the moment I'd left. On the screen, his character is immobile, standing in the middle of some hut. A single NPC stands in front of him, walking back and forth. Every now and then, it stops in front of him, exclaiming, "What are you doing in my hut?" I reach out and place a paw on his shoulder, and he immediately opens his eyes, snorting loudly. Is he playing Banjo-Kazooie? Is he playing Banjo-Kazooie? I don't know, because it sounds like Mumbo Jumbo's hut. Maybe. There's a lot of huts in games. He sits up and rubs at his face, snorting again as he breathes deeply. Did you go downstairs? Huh? What happened? Yeah, okay. People are messaging me while I'm making a video. Okay. It's almost funny how utterly confused he looks. If he's acting, he's doing a damn good job of it. I heard some noises downstairs. I thought it was you. No, I don't think so. Things were moved around, too. He takes in a deep breath before blowing it out. I told you, man, this place is haunted. I wasn't joking. We both look at each other for a moment. Finally, Carl breaks the awkward silence. So, how'd it go, aside from the ghosts? It went alright, just 3 hours and a bunch of research. He looks at me blearily. Oh shit, seriously? I was gonna come down after a while, I fell asleep, yeah. Anyway, we were supposed to go out today. Oh, really? Yeah, remember? You said so a few days ago. Carl looks around. Well, what do you want to do? I think... Don't you have an interview tomorrow? Don't remind me. Oh, God. Carl picks up his controller again and I frown. Well, I was thinking we could go out and maybe give you a new look. Now Carl frowns, clicking away at the controller. Like what? Well, your clothes for one. Do you have any dress clothes? You don't? Seriously? Have you ever had an interview before? Well, yeah, it's just that I've, grown out of them. Uh-huh. Well, we'll definitely need to get you some of those. I look at his beard thoughtfully. Maybe we should give you a more clean-cut look. Carl doesn't say anything and instead goes on frowning. I put a paw down on his controller, forcing him to pause. Come on, it could be fun. You can't stay in this house, in this room, forever. He finally does look at me, then his expression kind of sad. What's wrong? Carl looks away. He then stands up slowly, his joints popping. Nothing. If it makes you happy, then why not? Great. Just so you know, I'd rather just play some video games with you. It's tempting. Just watching Carl play is a lot of fun, what with his style and commentary, but this is more important. I really want to help him out. Maybe later tonight. Let's get this done first. So apparently your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was accused of sodomy. What? Carl looks up from his phone, his muzzle wrinkling. Yep, with John Begay, who I'm almost positive is related to Jenna, but I'll have to ask her. Are you serious? How'd you find that out? He pauses. Maybe don't ask Jenna about that. From what I can tell, your mom's trying to write a book. Carl strokes his beard. Oh yeah, she is, isn't she? Well, was more like. I don't think she's worked on it in years. From the looks of it, she started it in college. Damn, I do remember her saying it stressed her out a lot, or that something happened to make her stop. Carl seems to be thinking. Actually, I think I remember talking to my dad about how those old things freaked her out or something. He shrugs. We've always said the house is haunted. Carl's phone starts buzzing. And speaking of Jenna, she's calling me. Carl looks a bit perturbed, but he puts on a cheerful voice as he answers it. Yo, whale ears! Ah, that old name. As he listens to her response, I see a smile slowly slide off his face. I can hear the sharp, muffled tones of Jenna's voice, even though he's holding the phone on the other side of his face. I don't... I guess she cuts him off because he doesn't finish. I glare. Here, let me talk to her. The way Jenna acted yesterday, which isn't like her at all, is giving me a pretty good idea of what she's going off about right now. Carl doesn't give me the phone, though, instead just staring out the windshield as we continue on the highway. Finally, he lowers the phone from his ear, then stares at the screen for a while. She hang up? Yeah, said something about how Leo's depressed now, and how us hanging out by ourselves isn't helping things. I roll my eyes. You know what? Fuck Jenna. She's been on one since Leo's days. She's been on one since Leo's day didn't go the way he wanted it to. For some reason, she just wants to blame you. Yeah. Carl looks out his window, so I can't really gauge the mood he's in. Listen, let's get something to eat first. I'll buy. No, my parents are rich. I'll pay. I can't exactly argue with that, so I don't. I also don't feel like I can just leave it at that, so hesitantly I reach out with a paw and place it on Carl's shoulder. Seriously, let's have fun today, okay? Forget Jenna. He looks over at me and nods and gives a sad smile. I'm fine, Chase. I just want to get this over with so we can go back to play some games. I sigh. Is that all you think about these days? Hey, lots of people play games for a living. Name one. Rob Lowe. That's a sport. Still a game. I grin as I hear that jokey playfulness back in his voice. I'm glad I'm able to take his mind off of Jenna for the moment. Ah, that's right. This game was probably made before, like, the huge rise of Let's Players and streamers and so. I know it wasn't. Markiplier's been around forever. Markiplier has been around since the dinosaurs. He is a timeless, ageless being, and he will always be here to entertain us. I refuse to believe otherwise. He's like Nicolas Cage in, you know... God. Oh, God. Have you guys seen that painting of, it's like this old-timey painting of this person who looks exactly like Nicolas Cage. It's so eerily similar. Maybe he is a timeless being. I grin as I hear that. Okay, I already did that. Okay. Well, at least that keeps them active. Playing games all day will get you unhealthy. Just say what you said. Okay. Fat. If you didn't notice, I'm already down there. I'm already there. You're not that bad. I swear, you're mostly muscle. Then I guess I've got nothing to worry about. But you should get out more. Why? I've got entire worlds in my game. I don't know. What about girls? They're in games too. Well, you can't exactly touch a boob with your actual paws in a game. I don't know. I swear they've got those on. I've got those in Anime Land. You know what I mean. I already done it. Not that great. Oh, Chase. Don't say that. You a queer or something? I say it with a southern... You queer or something? Let's just say I don't label my sexuality. I'll let that sit for a second. That's a pretty queer thing to say. I guess I'm a pretty queer dude, then. Is that so? Besides, till I'm able to see my hooves again, I don't think any girls are going to be after me. Well, that's what we're doing right now, trying to give you a new look, a fresh start. It'll boost your confidence and your appeal. You'll have girls and boys after you. Again, Carl doesn't act very enthused about that. I tell myself it's only because he has to go out. Once we get there, I'm sure he'll cheer up. I swear, every store in the Peyton Mall is dark and covered in neon. Carl stands there awkwardly, looking around as if unsure about what to do. So, what kind of look do you want to go for? Carl looks at me like I'm crazy. Seriously, dude? I have no idea. You brought me here. Just work with this for the next hour, and I promise we can go to the game store next. Carl makes a big show of sighing, but I assume the twitch in his ears indicates he liked that a lot. Well, it's just dress clothes, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Carl's getting all insecure the way he did during the surprise birthday party. It's kind of cute. Carl? Chase? The voice comes from behind me, and Carl smiles over my shoulder before I turn around. Raven? Oh, shit. New character. The black and white two-toned husky is just a few feet behind me, grinning. What kind of voice should I do for Raven? Guys, in the comments, tell me what kind of voice should Raven have. Alright. I'm just going to make him sound like Chase for now. Or my normal voice. How long has it been? Too long, man. What are you doing here? Family moved back after Dad got fired. Now I work here. I could ask the same about you, Chase. Oh, just on spring break right now. You work in a clothing store now? Raven laughs. No, I'm a store down. I work at Game Central. Carl perks up at that. So, you're still in school, huh? Well, it's great to see you. Raven's accent is only slightly detectable now. The only noticeable foreign thing about him being his name. So, what are you guys doing here? Getting clothes? Yeah, for Carl, actually. He has an interview tomorrow. For some reason, Carl ducks his head at that, and through his ears, I can see him blush deeply. Oh, really? It's about time. I mean, I have had a job before. Alright, guys, I'm gonna pause it right here. Hey, we met a new character. We're gonna get to know them more in the next episode, probably. Or something horrible will happen to them. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. That's bad. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks if you can, or a tip as it's known as. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!